For those who have experienced air travel in the Philippines, we can say things don't always follow plans. That's exactly what happened on a recent domestic Philippine Airlines flight that I took departing from Manila. Ahead of the flight, I had plans for another type of video that I wanted to try out for the channel. However, our flight had a significant delay due to several reasons. Because of that, I decided to pivot the video to become a flight report, another edition of Travels with Flights in Asia. Today's flight is a routine Philippine Airlines domestic flight between Manila and the city of Iloilo in the western Visayas of the Philippines. A daily flight that is usually scheduled in the late afternoon just before the evening. With no knowledge of the delays before, I made my way to the Manila International Airport's Terminal 2, where Philippine Airlines domestic flights operates to and from Manila Airport. For many travelers, including myself, this is an airport terminal I'm all too familiar with, having done a previous video regarding AirAsia's move to Terminal 2 last year. At Manila Airport Terminal 2, AirAsia now occupies the south wing, the former domestic side of Philippine Airlines at Terminal 2, who have since moved most of their domestic operations to the north wing. Before last summer of June 2023, most of Philippine Airlines international flights departed from here before they were shifted to Terminal 1. For those who have international and domestic transfers on Philippine Airlines operated flights, along with codeshare flights, Philippine Airlines does provide free shuttle services between the terminals. After completing check-in and clearing security, you'll find yourself at the pre-departure area, which can get crowded during peak times. Within the pre-departure area, there are multiple food and beverage options. Once you find a seat, you can see a TV, and usually they are playing basketball highlights. Because it's the NBA playoffs time, the TVs were set to the NBA channel, and during playoff times, it's very common for passengers to be joined by airline and airport staff to watch the games. If you're not into basketball, you can also catch a glimpse of the action at the airport outside through the windows. Meanwhile, those flying on Philippine Airlines domestic business class product, comfort class, or elite Mabuhay Miles members do have access to the two Mabuhay lounges at Terminal 2. The first of the two Mabuhay lounges in the north wing, which is actually in between the north and south wings, are open for business class flyers, along with the airline's Premier Elite members and Million Milers. Less than 100 meters away in the south wing, all other Elite members, along with those who are willing to pay for access, can use the south wing Mabuhay Lounge. So far, things were going according to plan, though this would change around 40 minutes before departure, as it was announced that the aircraft we were using for this flight was going through maintenance coming in from Dumaguete. As a result, the flight would be delayed. Originally scheduled for departure just before 5 in the afternoon, the newly published departure time would be 7:30 in the evening. Due to the significant delay, meals were provided at the gate, with the agents asking for the boarding pass and a valid ID before claiming. Each of the meals that were provided consisted of a bottled water along with a plate of steamed rice and fried chicken. This would be the start of the delays as day turned into night, and soon the weather did change from the clear daytime to thunderstorms and lightning in the evening. This resulted in several lightning alerts at the Manila airport, which resulted in other flights being delayed, along with ground staff seeking shelter and stopping their work as a precaution. As mentioned, the new departure time that was listed was 7:30, and that time came and gone, and we were shifted to another gate following the arrival of the turnaround aircraft, which itself was delayed. We were not able to board the aircraft until around 8 o'clock, more than 3 hours after our scheduled departure time. During the boarding time, I did take the opportunity to take some stock footage of the Philippine Airlines Airbus A320 aircraft that we were using, along with the seats on the aircraft, which are equipped in a 3-3 configuration. Each seat was provided with the air sickness bag along with the safety card. While boarding was near completion and passengers were taking their seats, we would soon experience another delay as there was another lightning warning alert issued. So we would have to wait for the lightning warning to be lifted along with receiving clearance from the air traffic control in Manila. Looking outside, you can see it was raining and you can catch a glimpse of the aircraft that were on the ground just waiting to taxi as their movements were suspended due to the lightning alert. We were on the aircraft for another 20-30 minutes before we were able to push back as the lightning alert was lifted, followed by another 20 minutes of taxiing and waiting in line to take off at the runway. Our final departure time was around 9 p.m., more than 4 hours after our scheduled departure time. After our takeoff, we caught the last glimpses of the lights over Manila before heading southbound to Iloilo. Around midway through our flight, the cabin crew would come around with the usual Philippine Airlines domestic beverage service. For drinks, you do get a choice of either coffee, tea, or water. On this flight, we did get a small package of cookies, a substitute to the usual package of the Gustantes Especial green peas with dried mangoes that are normally served on Philippine Airlines domestic flights. Soon we would begin our descent to Iloilo and the cabin crew would come around one more time to collect disposable items and prepare the cabin for landing. Previously, I have flown on other domestic and international flights with Philippine Airlines, though this is the first time I've experienced a significant delay with them. For this particular flight, a lot of things didn't really go according to plan as the inbound aircraft had to go through maintenance and was delayed multiple times before our arrival and our boarding. As frustrating as the situation was, I can understand it's also a very stressful situation for the ground staff along with the pilots and flight crew who have to deal with the other frustrated passengers. Keep in mind, they too want to go home as well. So that's something to keep in mind if your flight ever gets delayed, especially if it's due to maintenance or weather issues, some of which even the airline has no control over. I will mention that they do have to do more in improving the communications, as we only got word officially through the gate agent that the flight was delayed around 40 minutes before the scheduled departure time. Also, there may be passengers who are not familiar as to what happens during a lightning alert, so I think Philippine Airlines and the other airlines in the country, along with the airport authority, could do a better job in communicating what happens during these situations. On this particular flight, I was surprised that the captain did not address this, which I thought would have been a good opportunity to speak about it, as this heavily affected our flight. That said, this wasn't the best of flights that I've taken, though not the worst. So after landing and the frustration of being delayed for multiple hours, I was just glad to arrive safely and be on my way to where I was going that night. I definitely hope you enjoyed this trip report, and if you ever had any flight delays with Philippine Airlines or other Philippine-based carriers, I definitely would love to hear your stories on how your flight delays were handled and whether they were handled similarly or better or worse compared to my experience. In the meantime, this has been Flights in Asia. Thank you for watching and have a great day.